This is the appendicular skeleton part 1. We're going to start by explaining what the pectoral and the pelvic girdles are. The pectoral girdle is what consists of the clavicle and the scapula. And what the pectoral girdle does is it serves attachment points for muscles. Also, it supports the upper body limbs. What the pelvic girdle consists of is the hip bone, and what they do, they serve as attachment points as well, but also supports the trunk and the lower body limbs, which is like the femur, tibia, fibula, the metatarsals, and the phalanges. We'll start by explaining the clavicle. This would be the sternal end. It's closer to the sternum, and this is the acromial end. We'll turn it around and we'll explain the scapula. We'll start by the coracoid process, which is this part right here, the coracoid process. The subscapular fossa, that consists of is this part right here. The glenoid cavity, which is just right here. The spine is this part right here, right along right here. The acromion is this part of the scapula. The supraspinous fossa is this part right here. It's above the spine. The infraspinous fossa is right here. It's under the spine. The sternoclavicular joint, which is this part right here, is where the sternum and the clavicle get together. The acromioclavicular joint is this part right here, where the acromion and the clavicle get together. We'll go into the arm. This is the humerus, which is a long bone, and we'll start by explaining the humerus. This part right here is the head of the humerus. The greater tubercle, which is right here, this part right here. The lesser tubercle is this part right here. The deltoid tuberosity is midpoint, this part right here, the inside right here. The medial epicondyle is towards the inside, which is this part right here. The lateral epicondyle is this portion right here. The coronoid fossa, and that is this portion right here, and what goes in here, it receives the coronoid process of the ulna. The capitulum is this part right here, and what it is a cup-shaped depression on the head of the radius. So it's right here. This is, and then the trochlea. The trochlea is this part right here, and what it is, it's it articulates the trochlear notch on the ulna and the forearm. Excuse me. The olecranon fossa. And the olecranon fossa is where the olecranon process of the ulna rests when the elbow is extended. And we'll move to the lower portion of the arm, which is the ulna and the radius. This part is the ulna, this part is the radius, and we'll start with the ulna with the olecranon. So the olecranon is this portion right here, this portion right here. The coronoid process is right here. The styloid process is more towards, it's distal. It's this portion right here, and we'll go ahead with the radius, the shorter. The head of the radius is the top portion right here. The radial tuberosity is this groove right here. The styloid process is this corner right here. And we'll move on to the carpus. We'll start with the distal portion. It is the scaphoid, the lunate, the trichurial, and the pisiform. We'll start with the distal. Which is the trapezium, the trapezoid, the capitate, and the hamate. And the bones that form the wrist joint, the radius is the bone that joins the wrist joint. The trapezium is the bone that forms a joint with the pollex. So this is the trapezium right here. So the metacarpals are these two, and then the phalanges are the tips of the fingers. And that's it for part 1 of the appendicular skeleton.